Hello, girls and boys, how's it going? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're logging in from the world. Today, we're going to talk about a very exciting topic. It's about navigating GenAI in DevSecOps, and specifically, we're going to focus on the opportunities and pitfalls for senior leaders. But before I get into the talk, let me give you a bit of my background. So, my name is Savinder Puri, and I come to you with about 23 24 years of industry experience. I did my engineering in the year 2000 from India, Pune. Along these 23 24 years, I've had the opportunity to work in large enterprises, small startups, consulting companies. At one point, I used to have my consulting gig of my own. So I've kind of been around the room. I've also worked in diverse locations like obviously India, US, Europe, UK, and South Africa. I'm currently an ambassador at CDF, Continuous Delivery Foundation, and DevOps Institute. Along the way, I've also had the opportunity to author two books. One is on how to build your career in DevOps, and the second is about spirituality, success and spirituality. And I also run a YouTube channel where I try and merge tech and spirituality. Feel free to get a chance to look it up. Now, let's start with the story. So, this is a true story about a friend of mine who works at a small consulting company. Now, these guys were taken offsite. The agenda was to brainstorm their strategy for next year, 2025. And a lot of brainstorming happened. A couple of senior consultants will call from outside to help the company redefine itself and to think how they want to position themselves for the next year. And as that session ended, as the weekend finished, they very violently and very enthusiastically they decided and they declared that they are now an AI first company. When the question was asked, what the heck does it mean? They said the first solution that we find for a customer for a problem, make it AI driven, hence we are an AI first company. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen this happen at different places, at different organizations. Let's dive into this a little bit. Even if this was slightly exaggerated, you get the point. But let's dive into this a little bit and think about how to start thinking about AI as we enter 2025. Today, we can think of AI as a superhuman intern. And let me give you a breakup of why I like to call it a superhuman and then an intern. The reason superhuman, because AI has capabilities and knowledge much larger than you and me put together. Those capabilities are superhuman. Because, for example, if you have millions of lines of code base in your enterprise, you can feed that into a language model and it will remember, it will know each and every line in that code base. Very difficult to do for a human being. An architect with 15 years experience in the same product might know it, but not a lot of people. So that's superhuman. Why the intern? Because today you need to be overlooking on the shoulder of AI to keep a check on what the heck it is doing. You cannot leave AI unattended with the task and assume it will take the right decisions without any biases, without any influences, and it will give you what you exactly want. You have to monitor it today. That's why superhuman intern. Now let's talk about AI and let's talk about SDLC, the software development lifecycle. The software development lifecycle is a complex socio-technical system. Let's break this down. Technical, of course, because we are dealing with technology, we are dealing with a million tools. You've probably seen the DevOps periodic table. You've seen a lot of pictures with a whole lot of AI DevOps tools. So SDLC is a complex technical system. Why a socio system? Because there are human beings involved throughout the SDLC, and wherever there are humans involved, there are social issues. To be able to do SDLC, continuous delivery at scale, across continents, across large enterprises, with humans involved, there are ego issues, there are issues related to clashes of personalities, and that's why I like to call SDLC as a complex socio technical system. Now let's see how that in turn has started to create impact across this SDLC. You're obviously familiar with this infinite loop. Now let's see how SDLC has started to impact this. Now by no means what I'm showing you is an exhaustive list, it's just to give you some idea of what is happening out there. So let's start with the planning stage. This is the stage where you do prototyping, where you do brainstorming about an idea of a feature or a product that you're about to build. Now at this stage, you're doing the basically going from brainstorming to requirement definition. That's the journey at this stage. And there are a lot of products like Glue Charm, Dovetail, which help you in capturing the requirements in a more efficient way. These tools allow you to just record your voice, just speak into it, it will capture the requirements, it will detail it out basis of a 2-minute, let's say, a speech that you give, it will detail out requirements. You can even specify what kind of details you want in the requirement gathering section, and it will populate that. Otter.ai started as a tool for taking meeting notes, but they've enhanced it now for requirement gathering as well. These are some of the players in this area. There are several more, as you can imagine. Now the next one, the coding, that's a big one. So this is where the co-pilots, the infrastructure as code, the migration tools come in. For example, you might have heard of ChatGPT being able to migrate from Oracle JDK to OpenJDK. Right? You can give it the access to your source code and say, I want to go from this version to this version, and it'll make your code maybe about 70-80% ready, right? Or migration from this version of Node to that version of Node, things like that. ChatGPT and other tools in that area can do this already. You might have heard about Devin, which was launched a couple of months back. It made a huge ruckus on the internet, and that was touted as the world's first AI software engineer. In fact, just a couple of days back, Devin has gone general availability, and it's claiming a lot of features. How it pans out is to be seen. And you've probably heard about GitHub Pilot, Replit, which claims to be able to go from an idea to production in a couple of minutes or an hour. Then there are, the offerings from the cloud providers. You've probably heard of Amazon Q, which is an IDE agent again. So lots of players popping up in this area. And then as you move forward from code to build, there are the usual suspects like Harness, which keep introducing new and powerful functionalities. And from the cloud providers, there is GitHub Actions, there is Azure DevOps, a lot of stuff happening from Microsoft, and then Amazon as well. Now, the test automation is a very interesting area because this is an area that has traditionally been a laggard. But now with AI, it has picked up quite a lot, and you can find things like XLQ, OpKey, which talk about the ease of a no-code platform for exploratory testing, for functional testing, even for non-functional testing. Then there are platforms like Gru.ai, which also claim to make creation of unit test cases or functional test cases very, very easy. Even from code, they are able to create all of this on the fly. Then as you move forward for the monitoring, the traditional beasts like New Relic, Dynatrace, they are also introducing new AI features. The goal being to move from reactive to proactive. And then on the operate side, you have the players like Kubaya.ai or VisionOx, which are end-to-end platforms which help you ingest artificial intelligence element in the operate phase. And then on deploy, you have AI integrated chaos engineering, chaos monkey, all of that things, uh, infra management, feature flags, and then the likes of digital.ai coming in with a lot of intelligence and AI baked into it. So overall, this is just an overview of some of the tools which are popping up in this space, but this is a busy space and these tools keep on coming up every now and then. So let's look at some GenAI capabilities that are broadly offered. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is just some segregation, classification of how GenAI is impacting different areas. Number one is the synthetic data. Synthetic data creation for test management, test data management, things like that. The use cases are test data for automation, the anonymized data sharing, or creating data for machine language development. So that's on the data side. Then we move on to personalization, where AI can tell you very, very personalized UI that can be tailored to your taste, your preferences, which gives you a highly adaptive user experience. And then there is conversational AI. If you've interacted with any sort of AI, it's probably conversational. It's all NLP based. The use cases are helper agents, which are things like integrations into your IDE, the Copilot kind of thing, or helping with troubleshooting. A lot of these are coming up on the operation side as well, and for trainings, onboarding of new resources. And then the next kind of wave of AI capabilities is AI agents. These are autonomous or semi-autonomous entities that can be used like co-pilots for development or for identifying log patterns or operation side, saying, hey, I've seen this pattern in the log. Last time I saw this pattern, in 10 minutes, there was a P1 defect. Can you figure out what's going on? Things like that. These are some broad level capabilities. Maybe you've seen some other ones as well. Now let's talk a little bit about what the industry is saying. Now this is picked up from Gartner and it lists the AI use cases by industry. Now the darker the box, the higher the frequency, which means if you look here, conversational AI is picking up quite a lot. Text-based use cases, virtual assistants, simulations like drug discovery, they are picking up quite a lot. And then you see all the industries and then some use cases. So the message on this slide is everyone is adding GenAI capabilities to their product roadmap to stay competitive in the industry. This is again by Gartner and it talks about a different lens. It talks about a user interaction lens in the context of the business ask. So for example, there are three types of business users: the external customers, the technology users, and the technology builders. The external customers are typically consuming content. The technology users are creating content. Technology builders are creating the technology for creating the content. Now, within content consumption, you have knowledge-based things, which are knowledge retrieval, contextualization. You have the RAG architectures, retrieval optimization, things like that. Within the content creation, you have communications, you have creatives, you have workforce. And then within that, you have the conversational AI, the co-pilot, the metadata activation, personalization. We spoke about these things. Now, on the technology creation side, you have the low code, no code. We spoke about its application in test automation. We have AI code generation. You have the ML ops. You have the application design and discovery. And then synthetic data, we spoke about infrastructure optimization, features on model ops or large language models. We touched upon this respectively. Now, the message on this slide is Gartner is saying by 2026, more than 80% of ISVs or independent software vendors will have embedded GenAI capabilities in their application, in their enterprise applications, which is up from less than 5% today. That's a huge statement. That's a big jump. So, however, as senior leaders, we need to be watchful of a couple of things as this wave of AI hits us. Let's talk about those a little bit. The first one and my favorite is AI whitewashing. What does it mean? You will see every other company saying we have AI features enabled. And it's almost like this saying, this feature was powered by blockchain, now it's powered by AI. But what I'm saying is that whenever you hear of a claim from a company or a product saying we are AI enabled, these features are AI driven, ask some good questions, dig a little deeper. And then you'll figure out whether these are actual AI features or this was always there, is just some repackaging. Or it's a wrapper over a chat GPT or an equivalent. Or maybe you've heard of some tweaked viral demos as well, where some demos were shown, but on further analysis, they were seemed to be tweaked and not available in the actual product as is. So all I'm saying is, when you hear AI being used in any product or in anything, ask some questions, dig a little deeper and figure out if it's actual elements of AI or if it is just some rebranding going on and some whitewashing going on. Just some things to ponder upon as you go back to your workplaces and as you start evaluating more products. Now let me give you an example. Let's say this is a prompt. Create an image of a superhuman intern with a senior in the background watching over the shoulders. So this is version 1 of the prompt. I put this in GitHub and then I run this prompt on GPT-4o, which is what I've exactly done. And this is the output. You saw this output on my first slide, right? Now what I did is I took the same prompt and ran it again on the same model, a different picture. The third time, the same prompt on the same model, a slightly different picture again. It's all true, but it's all different pictures. They probably all mean more or less the same things, but it's not the same output. Why I'm highlighting this is because enterprise software must be repeatable. And today, at least in this simple example, the repeatability is not 100%. So the applicability for enterprise software is not there yet. I'm sure it will come, but today it's not there. What's your experience on repeatability? Have you run the same prompt on the same model multiple times? And what has been the deviation? Think about that a little bit. Now, if you're familiar with Dora, the research company coming from Google, they have just published a research which is on the AI preview, and they talk about this element of trust and transparency. And they say that there is a relatively low level of trust in AI generated code, and overall there are some negative sentiments about organizations being transparent on how AI is being used. So this is research coming in directly from Dora on what I was talking about. Another thing to be wary of as a leader is LLM's performance on innovative first-time ideas. For things which have already been done, for research work, maybe LLMs will be fine. But for truly groundbreaking ideas, because LLM does not have a first instance of that idea to hook upon, to create its answer, its solution from, if you're doing something truly groundbreaking which has never been done before, probably LLMs is not the way to go because it doesn't have existing data, existing references to give you. Another thing which we are hearing a lot in the news these days is AI coding assistants taking the jobs of junior developers. Now, this is a rather disturbing trend, and my take on this is use AI to replace the toil, not the engineer. What do I mean by toil? Anything that is manual, that is repeatable, that is uninterested, that is just boring physical work, let AI do that. Remove the toil of the engineers and help the engineers upskill themselves and focus on higher order problem solving. Don't think of AI as a replacement to engineers. Think of AI as a way in which you can take off the mundane work of engineers and then help engineers solve bigger, higher problems. That would be my take on this. Now, I love this quotation by Kent Beck, who is the creator of Extreme Programming, the co-creator of JUnit, one of the authors of Agile Manifesto. So, guy who's been there, done that in the industry. And this is what he says on the use of AI. He says the value of 90% of my skills just dropped to $0. The leverage for the remaining 10% went up 1000x. It's a beautiful way of summarizing what AI is doing to each one of us. My question to you, how are you recalibrating yourself? He ends this statement by saying, I need to recalibrate. If you were to take away one thought from this talk, it'll be this. How are you recalibrating yourself in this age of AI? So here's my overall summary of what I've discussed so far. So with AI, the throughput could be very high, but the stability and the maintainability could be a problem. In summary, AI generated code works, but do we really understand it and can we maintain it? That's the question as of today. Now, coming to measuring the impact of GenAI tools within SDLC, that is an entirely different challenge in itself. And you'll hear this from a lot of organizations. They're saying, hey, it takes me X number of hours to do Y number of story points. With AI tools coming in, how much would be the reduction or how much will be the productivity improvement? It's a good question to ask. It's a tough question to answer. Let's understand why. So the easiest way of measuring the impact of GenAI is time saved, efficiency gain, reduction of the number of bugs, error, basically your technical debt reduction. That's the default, that's the easy way to show the impact of GenAI. It gets difficult when you're talking about developer experience. Are your engineers happier or more productive with AI tools doing the mundane part? That's a slightly tougher question to ask. Let's look at some other dimensions. With all these AI tools, how is the team performance being affected? How are your flow-based metrics being affected? And then the big daddy of them all, the DORA metrics, the deployment frequency, the lead time to change, the change rate failure, the time to restore service, those kind of things. Are they still relevant in the age of AI? These are good questions to think about. Now, some pitfall to avoid as senior leaders. Overestimating the AI capabilities. Now, assuming you can throw AI at a problem and it's going to fix it for yourself 100%. Neglecting the need for human oversight and experience. Because today, of course, AI has capabilities, it can produce output, but that output has to be vetted by a human. It needs oversight of a human. It needs a human to make it from maybe 70-80% to 100%. So be very cautious when you are estimating the capabilities of AI. The second and the most important one is inadequate implementation strategy, where you treat AI as a short-term innovation rather than a long-term commitment. Because commitment in AI, in your product, in your feature, in your service is a long-term thing. It'll take time to fructify. The other flip side to this is starting with over ambitious projects instead of taking small bets, winning them, going iteratively, because the technology is evolving, the models are evolving, the problem statement is evolving. So rather than taking big moonshots, taking small incremental values and adjusting your path as you go along. This is very, very interesting and one of my favorites, neglecting the user-centric design and focusing on technical brilliance at the expense of usability. So I use this language model and I use this RAG architecture and this can do this and that. That's fine. How easy is it for the user to use that application? Have you lost track of that just by showing the brilliance in AI? And failing to align AI solutions with core business objectives and going too deep into AI to solve a technology problem. And then this is the most obvious one, where all your AI workloads, all your AI experimentation is gonna cost you. And the more you do this experimentation, the more tooling you put in, even whether it's from a cloud provider, keeping an eye on the cost is always a good idea. Cost not just from the model, the token, the usage perspective, but also from the cost of the talent and the training required to operate and work on these models. So long story short, what's the moral of the story? The future of DevSecOps is here, and it's powered by AI. There is absolutely no doubt about that. You see AI tools cropping over left, right, and center across the entire SDLC, and they're getting better every single day. So as leaders, we need to embrace it, but responsibility and shape it for the future, for our betterment. Thank you very much. I had a lot of fun giving this talk. Hopefully you gain some nuggets which you can take back to your workplace. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn. Feel free to have a look at my YouTube channel where I mix technology and spirituality. See you in the next one. Cheers.